Hello, friends. We are ready again. We have spoken so far about comparing the two civilizations, the modern and the Indic. And having compared that, we also set out to identify the antiquity of the civilization. And we dealt with the house mice, where we got some clues that the house mice all over the world owe their ancestry to the mice from India somewhere from 13,000 BC. Today, let's look at another candidate that might give us an idea about the antiquity of our civilization. Remember, we did talk about the fact that a civilization is when nomadic people, after the hunter-gatherers, have settled down to because they've discovered some kind of agriculture, they've developed those tools, they've managed to do some farming, and from cattle herders they become cattle rearers, managing and animal husbandry, etc. So if you start having this sedantic lifestyle, because now you don't have to run and forage for food, you obviously farming becomes the very start of how a civilization would start. And then the fact that if it's continued continuously, then you're able to retain some of those practices, those human memories, because then these human memories and this human learning goes on to build civilizations. Now, while we were trying to identify the unbroken continuation and the antiquity of the Indic civilization, we will obviously get back to see how does farming impact, and did it really start in India independently on its own. There have been various theories that farming originally started in the Levant and various other things, but I don't think nothing really corroborates as well, and with all the other evidence that's around it, like the house mice and other evidences, to prove that farming would have definitely been oldest from India, and if not even the oldest, definitely thousands of years ago, and independently started from India. One such candidate we're also going to look at in today's episode is the rice grain. Yes, it might sound not very interesting, because rice is fine to good to eat and you enjoy it, but you don't want to really know more about it from a scientific point of view. But then there are certain very interesting details about it, which I'll share in this short video with you, if you will spare me your attention. So now, the rice so far was kind of accepted as if the origin of rice, because the fossils were found in China, and and then these fossils were dated to something like 8,400 before present, and the earliest rice grains were found there, and they then believed on that basis that rice should have originated in China and probably spread to other places. But then recently, it discovered in our own state of Uttar Pradesh, in UP, in Lahuradeva, a location called Lahuradeva, certain rice shards were found which were stuck onto certain haystacks, and these were then found, and when they were dated, these rice fossils, they were dated and they were found to be 800 years before rice was in China, and this was in 9,200 before present. So and then this discovery, and then this rice was not some wild variety. The rice that they discovered was that which had human intervention in it, you could make out. Why? Because this was particular varieties that were now more suited to a cyclical monsoonal kind of cycles. So this is not the wild variety, and it was actually that which where the farming a farmer's intervention could be seen in the output of this rice, and that rice shards were found out there. Then the question comes up, and the question came up that, and also these rice, were those that were, while you're cooking, some rice that burns and falls out sometimes. It was that kind of rice that then got fossilized and was preserved for posterity and has been found. Now, India being a continuous civilization, what happens is most of our locations are heavily populated even today. So it's very difficult to get to the right spot and be able to find these. So this find was a really great find, and then the question came up that, but then did India really have the wild variety of rice, because it probably originated in China? And even that got disproved, because what happened was in a dinosaur excreta, they found fossils, and in its excreta they were able to find rice pieces from the wild variety. and that was dated to something like 30 million years and even prior. And that was a time, or even much more earlier than that, and that was a time when the Indian subcontinent was still not even part of the Eurasian plate. So independently, even before the Indian subcontinent had gone and hit the Eurasian plate, giving rise to the Himalayas, this rice variety or wild rice variety has been found in India of that antiquity, which means that the wild variety did exist. So obviously the Indian farmer had then finally learned how to manage that rice variety into making it domesticated and seasonal rice that he is able to utilize for his own pellet. So that also got proved. Then there's another interesting thing, which, and here I will narrate to you something that I learned from the video clips of Mr. Claudio Alvarez. Very interesting stuff that he speaks of, and you should probably check him out on the internet and see for more details. He mentions that the International Rice Research Institute took about 40 years to produce two varieties of rice, that is IR6, IR8 and IR36. And these were quite popular. But then the Indian farmers had 300,000 varieties of documented rice available with them.
Now you would ask, why International Rice Research Institute, after 40 years of research, has produced two varieties, IR8 and IR36, which were very popular. And how is it that these unpad log Adivasis and peasants could maintain in this country 300,000 recognizable different cultivars of rice? Would that make any impact on your mind? Or would it make no impact on you?
One of his friends, who was the director of the Madhya Pradesh Rice Research Institute, when he was looking around for rice varieties, and he was going around in the Chhattisgarh area trying to find that, one of the village headmen told him that, once a year we have a mela. You come there, and a lot of rice farmers come and they exchange rice varieties freely. So he went there to that mela, and then he could find varieties and varieties of rice, because all the farmers bring in there, it's available, you can just pick it, you can take it. Now watch the Indic systems. You see, here there is such an exchange of information and technology that these farmers exchanging rice with themselves are able to grow so many varieties, and that already there were about 300,000. I mean, even today in Philippines, the American Rice Research Institute in Philippines has about 70,000 varieties. This Madhya Pradesh Rice Research Institute has about 19,000 varieties. The Central Rice Research Institute in Cuttack has about 60,000 rice varieties. But then the Indian farmer has taken it as his heritage, which he's got, is about 300,000 varieties. Now, you know what normally they would say? They would claim that the custard apple was originated in probably Americas, the South Americas. Why? Because over periods of time, it has more genetic variations. So wherever you find the largest variety, they assume that that place would be the origin of that food item. That is how they attribute the custard apple to South America. They assign the watermelon to Africa. And but going by that, the rice varieties in India are so numerous. Obviously, then rice would have originated here. And not only that, there is so much of technology that they could even had a particular variety which is called the neuter variety. Neuter means it doesn't produce. You just get a husk with no seed in it. So it is because rice itself pollinates. So in the fields, if you put the neuter variety, then it curtails the cross pollination and can even give you better quality of a particular breed of rice. So this is how the farmers were able to do it, and even till today that variety has not been developed in a lab in anywhere in the world. So they don't have the technology. Now imagine how much of wealth and how much of information that this civilization has. And then it also goes to show how antique it is, because they have not only started this seeds of this civilization, they then went on, produced, kept it in memory, had particular systems by which they could disseminate this knowledge, share it, preserve it, and then take it forward. So guys, once again, it tells us certain lessons, and we must remember that. As we go on, we will deal with some more of these things which will tell us about it. So we had found out how the cow, the zebu breed, the Bos indicus, the house mice, and now the rice, all these things are pointing towards the antiquity and the unbroken continuity of the civilization. That's the Indic civilization. Once again, friends, thank you very much for listening. Cheers till we meet again. Bye-bye.